Hello literature connoisseurs. Let's begin chapter 10 of Nicolae. The chapter begins with Buck as he gets ready to leave the hotel. We get told he takes a bag with his equipment inside that was a tape recorder, a computer and cell phone. They drive by the now fully rebuilt Jerusalem temple and Buck sees some sailors that can speak English, walking around. One spots the two fakes and they hedge closer like frightened children, then after they get too scared to get closer they run away. Buck gets drawn to them and he asks the same question they keep asking over and over and over. They respond with the same nonsense answer, however this time Buck interrupts them and tries to get them to speak plainer. This infuriates the fakes and they speak normally for once. Odd that if they can do this they don't do it more often. Buck apologizes and they make a cryptic announcement that he needs to speak to a loved one. Buck's phone rings and it's Chloe. Can't see why, they could not say, "Answer your phone because the call is important." Would have the same effect and everyone would know what they are talking about. Basically all the two fakes are doing is telling everyone that Christianity is nonsense and guesswork. Chloe tells Buck that she's having a premonition and that he needs to stay out of the hotel he's reserved a room at. Buck gets snarky with her because he wants to hang up the call and try talking to the two fakes again. She refuses and gives him a hard time. Buck then pretty much thinks the same thing as I've been saying about the two fakes. Although in his case he thinks they are miraculous of an argument from ignorance fallacy. I can't explain it, therefore it must be God or a miracle. This can often border on a personal incongruity where the person might say, "I can't understand how it could be anything other than a miracle." Buck ends the call and the two fakes begin shouting more Bible verses about people having visions and dreams. This somehow connects to what Chloe was saying, but Buck is only interested in finding Sion. He gets on a boat and travels to Lake Tiberias, which we had previously learned was Galilee. So once they get there he had no clue what to do, so he decided to pray. So the guy named Michael, who owns the boat, suddenly tells Buck that he has a gun pointed at Buck's head. Because it's so dark Buck's eyes had yet to adjust to be able to see it. Michael goes on to say that he will kill the enemies of God and that Buck must answer his questions. It's so amusing that Christians brag about their supposed moral superiority because their morals come from their imaginary friends, yet they can easily make excuses to cast them aside whenever they wish. He asks Buck to tell him his real name, instead of the alias he was using, who he is looking for, and what he intends to do if he finds that person. This is so stupid because how would he be able to tell if Buck was lying or not? He goes on to say that he has already killed 2 people and he won't mind killing Buck too. At this point I think we are all rooting for him to kill Buck. Just saying. So Buck refuses to answer and states he's willing to die to protect the person he is looking for. Michael goes through a series of true and false questions, making this even more ridiculous. Each answer points out that he is looking for Sion, whom we can guess is whom Michael is trying to protect. But again, suppose that Buck lied and said he was looking for a woman instead of a man. Would Michael still shoot him? How would he know if Buck is lying? Can he read minds? Skipping past the nonsense, Michael finally is convinced that Buck is an ally not an enemy, and he puts away the gun and goes into telling Buck his backstory of how Sion and the 2 fakes made him into a believer. A believer that is a cold-blooded murderer. Sion and the fakes must be so proud, as well as their God. Buck also comments on this, but Michael rationalizes that he does not consider it murder and it's better that others die instead of Sion. Love that cult mindset. So they continue and we learn that Sion's driver was killed and he was not a believer. Michael doesn't want Sion told because of how emotional he got when he learned his family died. It also gets mentioned that the group had been witnessing to the driver, but he was not ready to accept. So we are to assume, based on what the Bible says, that the driver was killed and went to hell. More than likely to ease the Christian conscience, we'll get told that at the last minute he became a secret convert and said the quote, unquote, sinner's prayer but kept it hidden. Or not. Depends on how ridiculous the authors want to be. I mean, when you have a 20 and some odd-year-old woman acting, eating, and behaving as a 3-year-old throwing a temper tantrum. And she doesn't seem to be in the diaper fetish, but even women that act simple and childlike to appease their mates or boyfriends. They took that to the extreme with Chloe. They ruined her character and wondered why no one respects her anymore. So they continue talking and Michael mentions he was warned in a dream not to go to Egypt, much like the stories in the Bible. Then as they near the shore, Michael gets the bright idea to jump in the water and try to outrun the boat, which Buck has some difficulty doing. Not sure why they would do that. If enemies were keeping watch, then they'd see the boat, and whether they outran the boat or not, the enemy would be at the shore waiting to capture anyone. Be they on the boat or trying to outrun it. They get to shore and Michael leads the way to the hideout where Cyan is staying. This ends chapter 10 of Nicolae. See you next time for chapter 11.